Well, 2021 came and went, and so did a lot of games. This was an interesting year for me because I started to release more concrete content, and it truly has been a blast to do so. So here is for a 2022 with more content and hopefully more growth to the channel. Now for today's video, I'm going to go through my top 5 worst games of 2021. The games aren't necessarily released in 2021, and it's more about the games I played throughout the year, regardless of their release date. This will be a part 1 video. In the coming weeks, I will be releasing my top 5 best games of 2021, so hopefully I'll see you there as well. So now, let us start with the top disappointments of this year. This game was so... The reason it's number 5 in the disappointment scale is because it did so little to impress me that it didn't even warrant a feeling as strong as disappointment. Of course, I didn't really have expectations for it in the first place, and based on my time on it, it was quick to cement itself on being one of the most boring games I've played this year. As beat-em up games go, this one does little to improve the formula or even push it. The combos, if we can even call them that, are very basic, and the visuals are just tacky, especially the default screen effect that it has on. That really does nothing but make the game look worse. Overall, it's a very nothing game for me, and honestly, you should play any other beat 'em up game. I got a whole selection right here, you know, just saying. Okay, look, this game is by no means bad. I just thought I would like it a lot more than I did and was expecting a lot more from it. The gameplay is sick, energetic, fun to some regard, but everything else just didn't do it for me. The story was whatever, the voice acting was okay, I guess. It's one of those voice actings that aren't good or bad, so it has no fun factor in it. I don't know how to explain it. Either be bad or really good, not this middle ground thing. It just, I don't know, it's just to put it in simple terms, this game bored the living shit out of me. I quickly didn't care for it or even wanted to finish it, but this was just me. If the story does it for you and the ambience and whatnot, you'll probably love this because the gameplay is solid, just not enough to keep me invested at least.
I don't want to die! My god.
This is a weird one for me. I for one love the Worms franchise. I've always liked the idea of a turn-based strategy where the physics can really screw you over in any moment. It makes for probably the funniest clips and disappointments you can have with yourself when you screw up. And this franchise has been, I would say, a staple to video games in some way. The concept is so easy to grasp that everyone has played at least a Worms game or a version similar to a Worms game at some point in their lives. And that's why I think the Worms franchise has experimented a lot with its ideas, from its original concept in 2D, adding crafting and whatnot, to fully taking it to the 3D space. But Worms Rumbles takes a very different approach to what Worms is, and that is making it not turn-based and just full-on action where everyone is moving at the same time. Funnily enough, this idea was made already with games like Liero, which is literally that, and to some extent games like Soldat, and that is exactly what Worms Rumble is, basically a Soldat but with worms. And you know, that's fine, I like Soldat, I like Worms, what can go wrong? Well, no one bought it, or at least no one plays it. So finding a game is almost impossible. I've only been able to play 2 games, and one of them got desynced almost instantly. The one game I did manage to play was fun, but maybe felt a bit impersonal, which I think loses one of the core aspects of the Worms franchise. Almost everything you do in Worms games, it's personal. Like, I'm just gonna use my turn to wobble towards your worm and hit it with this bat. Just you and only you. But then giving Worms Rumble's gameplay and the fact that everyone's moving all the time, you just kind of attack whatever's in front of you, so that's kind of out of the equation. I really want to play this more so I can get a more accurate impression on it, but until they don't get a better player base and or fix the desync issues, I think that might never happen. Okay, I'm coming out of the horny closet. I really like Honey Pop 1, there, I said it. Now sit down and take off your judgment glasses and let me explain to you why Honey Pop 1 is a million times better than Honey Pop 2. Okay, first off, let me explain to those who don't know what Honey Pop even is. This is a game where you play these puzzle-like games to simulate dates, and if you succeed in said 3 dates, you... win the girl. Okay, I know what you're thinking. This is just a dating sim with extra steps, and you're exactly right. That's all it is. But these extra steps, no, not these, make the game as fun as it can be. In Honey Pop 1, you pick who you're going to be, and then you go out and meet a plethora of women, all with distinctive tastes, likes, dislikes, and so forth. And you go on dates with all of them, with the goal to, well, finish the game. And to do so, you need to get to know them, understand them, and know the right thing to say. That concludes the dating sim part of the game. The whatever bit, really, because then you go to the meat of the game, which is the dates themselves, and here is where we go to the puzzles. Now yes, the reason behind why you want to finish said puzzles is a degenerate one, but if I am being real with you guys, they're actually the core reason why I like these games, because the puzzles are actually hard and intricate to play. Not like these other games where clearly the goal is more important than the game. Here comes a game that actually does fun and interesting puzzles to, well, yeah, get to the suggestive parts, whatever, but you really have to think here. Depending on the girl, different pieces do less or more points. You have these items that you can use to your favor. You have limited amount of moves, and in later levels, you lose a lot. It's great figuring all these puzzles out, and then you have these characters per se that even though it's not my main focus, I just want my puzzles, man, you get somewhat invested. Hell, the game can be really funny too. Some characters are actually interesting, even if they are one-noted, very stereotypical in a lot of ways, but you form an odd bond with these characters. Take that however you want, I'm done explaining it. But now, let's talk about Honey Pop 2. It's weird to say, but this game was without a doubt my most anticipated game of the year, because I generally had a great time in the first one. But man, the second one does not do the first one any favors. Let's start with the puzzles. Here the puzzles go from hard and intricate to just unfair and not fun at all. They add this new mechanic that's more luck based than skill that gives you negative effects depending on the girl, and each girl has 3 of these effects, and you get them randomized so you can't even accurately prepare for them. And then they also change how the dates work, because now you go with 2 girls, which by the way makes no sense at all how it even happens, but more on that later. So now you have to be constantly switching between them, remembering which piece each one of them likes more. If one of them gets mad, you lose, plus the whole negative effect things hitting you randomly, and it's just not fun. That's enough to not like it, right? But no, even the dating sim aspect of the game was butchered. The new characters all fucking suck. None of them are interesting or remotely likable. They went from funny to cringy, so not even the guilty pleasure of the game is fun. This one was definitely more focused on the horny finish, because it really makes zero sense how most of these interactions even happen. It's just annoying. It's kind of stupid to say this, but the horny ruined this game for me. I like the suggestive themes of the first one, sure, but god damn, man, they steered in way too much on this one. I think that's enough Honey Pop ranting. Please stay for the last entries. This one hurt. I really wanted to love this game. I really did, but I just couldn't. There was so many things that didn't work for me. It was messy, it was not what I thought the game would be, and the reason why it's number 1 isn't because I think it's the worst game I've played this year, but because it was the most disappointing game I have played this year. I've been waiting probably for over 5 years for this game to come out, partially because I am an avid fan of the Manless Combat series, and I have been following this animation since forever. The first animation came out in 2002. I was a kid and probably should have not been seeing any of these shorts, but I could not resist. I loved them, and I still do to this day. Every time a new episode came out, it was a whole event for me. I spent hours playing Madness Interactive, and when I found out you could mod it, my kid brain just... This series at one point in my life was everything, so naturally I was ecstatic when they announced they were working on Project Nexus 2, but I couldn't love it. Firstly, the multiplayer did not want to work. This was a huge bummer because I was excited to play this game co-op. Also, it didn't have PS4 control support. I managed to work around that, but it was a hassle to say the least, and when I finally got to play the game, it was just not fun. There are barely any guns, and the few guns that you do find, the bullets run out incredibly fast. It just didn't make any sense. This game is based on this, and this game, based on this, had almost no guns or bullets. How does that work? It becomes this weird beat 'em up game where you just click the melee button over and over again with no real combos or anything. The idea seems to be that the game wants you to juggle the limited resources you have, and okay, that's fine. If it worked properly, grabbing guns or blunt weapons or anything from the floor is a pain. You always end up grabbing what you don't want, sometimes dropping what you don't want to drop, sometimes not even being able to drop it. It's just a very confusing layout. Configuring the controls are all over the place and not accessible in any way. The game just feels bad. Madness Interactive did a better job at this whole switching things around. The game is almost 20 years old. Oh my god. I really tried to like this game for what Madness Combat was for me, and I have no doubt that maybe in a few more years and a couple more patches this game will probably start working better. But as it stands now, it has major issues, and in some way an identity crisis with the whole gun thing being a genuine annoyance. But I'll keep coming back to it, hoping one day it's the Madness Combat game that I've wanted since I've been a little kid. But for now, here it stands.
It's finally over. Goldman, I don't care if a successor comes or not. I'll go on fighting. As long as we have the will to live. Goodbye, Goldman.
And that was my list. What are your thoughts? Have you played any of these? Would you play any of these? And why Honey Pop? Please subscribe to stay tuned in later weeks for the top 5 best games of 2021, and thanks for sticking around this long. Here is to more videos this year. Okay, bye.